You have to get really close.
Really close? Like that. Okay. Welcome. It's so nice to see everybody here. We're going to get started with our meeting in just a second. Just a few things to go over. Back on that back table are several papers. One talks about our programs for this year. We only have a couple programs left, one in October and one in November, so look for that. But there's also a paper about signing up. If you're not on our email list, do that. And Upper Salford Historical Society needs you. If you have anything that is related to Upper Salford, anything that says Upper Salford, anything that's Upper Salford, we'd like to, if you're going to throw it away, we'd like to have it. If not, we'd like to copy it, keep it in our files, digitalize it, and keep it with our records. The Goshenhoppen Church is having several activities this fall. Grave Tales is coming back on October 13th. There is a DAR plaque dedication to Revolutionary War veterans on November 12th. They're having a Christkindl Mart on December 3rd and Wreaths Across America on December 17th. There's a paper back there about those things. And our fire company is sponsoring two events. One is, both of them are on October 29th. In the morning is a water rescue 5K run, right, and walk on the trail. And there's information about that. And then the trunk or treat will be at the firehouse that afternoon. People are welcome to participate in that. Bring kids, grandkids, whatever you want to do for that. So, without any other announcements from me. Oh, by the way, I'm Pat Hughes. I'm with the Historical Society. Ginny Ward is also part of the Historical Society board. Barb Gormley is back there, and Luann is over there. We are the ones who organize our programs. If you have any ideas ever that you think would make a good program, if you are a person who would like to present a program, please let us know. We're always looking for ideas. We'll be planning 2023, probably in January of this coming year, 2023, we'll be planning the programs for that. So if you have anything that you want to offer to us, please let us know. Okay, Ted, Rick, come on up.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Rick Buckman. For those of you that don't know me, I've lived in this area my whole life. I grew up on Squirrel Hill over on the next mountain over. That's a hill. But my father actually grew up in this area also. He grew up on the egg farm where Mike Hart is now. And in fact, he went to the 8th grade in the one-room schoolhouse in the corner of Swanksville and Letter Rock Road. Then in high school, he went into Swanksville. My grandparents, when they retired from the egg farm business, they built a rancher next to the farmhouse, and that's where Ginny lives now. So that gives you an idea of the roots in the area. Also, my grandfather was one of the first, he was one of the first trustees when the Upper Salford Fire Company was formed. So, I wrote a paper up with a lot of history on Spring Mountain in general, including the Indians and the Spring Mountain House and the vacation area and the mining of the black granite. I'm going to skip over that and just stick to the ski area. But if anybody wants that, I have more copies of this if they want to read through that too. Otherwise, that would take too long. Cheating notes. In the early 60s, two gentlemen, the last names were Groner and Jameson. They decided they wanted to build a ski area in the area. So they were looking for a hill that faced north, obviously because the snow doesn't melt as fast, and had access to water. And they narrowed it down to the north side of Squirrel Hill, has a branch creek at the bottom, or Spring Mountain, obviously where the Perkiomen Creek is. So we all know where they chose. So we're sitting here right now. When I was a junior in high school in 1970, I started skiing here. It quickly became my social life in the wintertime. I'd be here 4 or 5 nights a week on a season pass. At that time, It was just this side of the mountain was developed. I don't know if you can see the picture up here. That A-frame is the only thing that was here. That's where you bought your lift ticket. And if you wanted a hot dog or hot chocolate or other refreshment, you had to walk up to the other building at the other end of the parking lot. So that's now where our skating center is. But in 1962, when the slope opened, it only went halfway up this out here. It's getting dark now, and it was served with a rope tow. In 1968, they put the first chairlift in. Yeah, over here, but the rope tow just went up to one side over here. 68, they put this chairlift in. 70, I started skiing here, not knowing what I'd be doing today, obviously. In 71, they built the trails on the other side. They put in the second chairlift in. And a lot of that construction is in these pictures over here. So I doubt if they got land development or soil erosion permits or any of that stuff back then. They probably just did it. Then in 1973, they put the third chairlift on the other side. In 1983, they put the triple chairlift in over here, and that replaced the rope tow finally. The rope tow was the hardest part in learning how to ski. Because you tried it. When I started skiing here in 1970, the property was owned by Spring Mountain Winter Sports. The majority stockholder was Banks Jensen. And he was in the Swedish import-export business in Philadelphia, and he sort of controlled everything. Another stockholder was Al Manning, and he was the one that's responsible for the many additions on this building and the other buildings on the slope. So he was in the general contracting business. So they quickly grew from that A-frame you see up there. They went out the left, they went out the right, they went out the front, they went out the back, put the bathrooms in, built the rental barn where the rental skis are now. So there's a lot of construction done in those years when Al Manning was involved. By the late 1990s, the ski area was becoming in disrepair. There wasn't any money being put back into it. In 96 and 97, the chairlift kept breaking down. The guests got frustrated. A lot of them stopped coming. And finally, by late 97 or 98, the ski area closed. In 1999, my brother, sister, and myself approached Mr. Jansen about selling the ski area. We had all learned to ski here, and we just thought it would be a shame if the ski area went away forever. We knew that the ski area was going to take a lot of money to get back to where it should be, and we thought that the asking price was too high, knowing what we had to put in on top of that, so we walked away. We couldn't come to an agreement. Later that same year, Upper Stafford Township approached me, and they had the idea of a public-private partnership, and I'll let Ted go more into that. But needless to say, it worked out to be a great idea. In fact, over the years, Upper Stafford has been an invaluable partner keeping this ski area going. Not only on that initial purchase, but through the good times and bad times, they've been right by our side, helping us out. So we can't say enough about the relationship with the township. Later, a few years later, some of the things we did right off the bat was put in a whole new snowmaking system. In fact, it was the first fully automated system in the United States. We did that. We had to replace most of the roofs on the buildings. We replaced all the electric, all new snowmaking piping, just all the safety circuits. So when the chairlifts had Band-Aids on them, we had to replace all of them. I don't know how they ever got through inspections with those. But then later, we put in the canopy tour, the zipline canopy tour. That was the first canopy tour put in a ski area in the country. At the time, there was about 5 other zipline canopy tours in the country. I think one was in Hawaii, one was in Texas, Alaska. There was like 5. We were the first ski area to put one of those in. Now they all do it. So Little Spring Mountain has a couple of firsts going for it. 2008, we put in Spring Mountain, the haunted activities. So that takes place in the month of October. As most of you know, last year we put in the ice skating rink. And this year we're putting something new in. We have a new snowmaking machine that's being delivered the end of October, which will make snow with the outside air temperatures up to 70 degrees. So, it costs a lot of money. There's 7 of them in the world right now. Spring Mountain will have the 8th. So that's going to be here at the end of October. We bought it, ordered it in April, and we're looking forward to getting that put in. So, just in closing, my wife and I are getting to be, well, we're almost 70, and we're gradually turning over things to our daughter and son-in-law, and I guarantee that they'll have the same passion that we've had to keep this place going. So, Ted, you want to explain about?
Sure.
Year 2001, that's when we had settlement. It was March 14th, 2000.
It's not my fault. That's not my fault. Do I need this, or
It's a spam risk.
is that?
That's spam.
Do I need this, or can I just talk? Okay. Let's go back. History of the township a little bit. 1969, we adopted zoning. So all of this here was done by Al Manning's guys without inspectors, building stuff, foundation, the whole 9 yards. That's why it could go and happen. Stepping back again, let's look at the whole mountain. The front side is a ski slope, but for years before that, before there was ever a ski slope here, there was a Spring Mountain house on top of the mountain. Woodside is one of the remaining hotels around from that era. Good.
Early 1900s.
Early 1800s. And it was a beautiful, beautiful recreation. So I was sitting here looking at this, and for the people that live in Upper South, when we look at the mountain, we call this the front side. The back side is where the Spring Mountain towards Schwanksville. But for years, this wasn't here. That was up there. So this must have been the back side, and not the front side. The mountain is an open space success story. Both sides, even Perkiomen Township and Lower Frederick Township participated. Back in 1993, there was a Montgomery County effort. You weren't a supervisor then, or you weren't a commissioner then, were you?
No, I was controller.
Okay. There was a $100 million open space agenda. So 60 million went to the 60 million was shared between 62 municipalities in Montgomery County. 40 million was for the county to have to do county-wide projects. The nice part is I moved back into the area, I went to business school and met my wife, who is very important to the program that we're going to do. And as a township supervisor, I was asked to join this Blue Ribbon County Commission to help put together this $100 million program. Because what you have in Montgomery County is you have the eastern side, the Lower Marions, the Upper Marions, the Abingtons, the Springfield, which has lots of wealth, lots of taxpayers, as they say, and then the western side, which has Little Upper South and Little Spring Mountain, all the way up to Pennsburg and Red Hill and Marlboro and Salford Township. And we had to come to an agreement. Of this 60 million, who gets what? Lower Marions actually, at the end of the deal, walked away because they felt they were paying the most in and not taking anything out. So we agreed upon a formula, and that formula was each municipality got something like $500,000, and then everybody got 4 or 5,000. I don't know the facts anymore, it's been too long, but 4 or 5,000 per person. So Upper South wound up with like $800,000. And with that, we bought some property alongside Upper Southwood Park. 27 acres of that, and I'll talk about that a little bit, was donated by Drew Lewis to Upper Southwood Township, and he essentially offers $500,000 to make the improvements, but we asked him to make the improvements, so he spent $800,000 to make it a little nicer than what we would have had to do bidding wise. So that's where we spend our money. Being on that committee, there are a couple rules. And so when you have this money you're dealing out, you have to have the rules. Each township had to have an open space plan. Okay? So, there was a match, 20%. If you, 20% of the money would have to come from the township, a little skin in the game, and 8% came from the county. But if you had a shared project between two townships, it was only 10% match. So I'm thinking about that. We spent our money. We spent our money. But I look over here, and Schwanksville's a borough. What's a borough mean? Borough means public water, public sewer in a small area that used to be part of the township. Lots of people. They got the same 500,000 plus a heck of a lot more. They had more people. They did open space in their borough, but they were sitting there with $300,000 or $400,000. Remember the rule, if you share a project, 10% match? Well, we had this Spring Mountain. We had the Spring Mountain house property that was shallow and run over and just overgrown, but it was open space. And did we want houses there? Schwenksville didn't want houses there. They wanted to look at the beautiful mountain. So we concocted a deal for Schwenksville's money and our match. So we put 10% in, but we got another $400,000 or $500,000. So that's how we bought what we call the backside of the mountain. So that's protected open space. So we did that. Unfortunately, it was one of those issues where the guy agreed to a sale price. The county at that time, the county staff said, oh no, the appraisal doesn't justify that. We were off by $60,000. We couldn't do the deal. So we figured out, Upper Southford said, let's go forth. So we had another appraisal and this and that, and we asked Lower Frederick, which had a couple extra bucks, if they would go in on the deal, throw their unwanted money. Because if you didn't use your money, where did it go? The Lower Merions of the world, the Horshams of the world. I'd rather spend the money here. So we concocted that deal with Lower Frederick. We had to pay, after the Montgomery County staff got involved, I think we had to pay another $150,000, $200,000, and that's where Lower Frederick's money came in. So this backside of the mountain was protected, okay? Then we start out with Spring Mountain Ski Area. If you live over here and you look out at night, you see the beautiful diamonds. The lights. I hate lights. I love the night sky. But these lights are special. It defines Upper Safford. Let's see if I can get this to go. Back in 2000, I was quoted as saying, It's the jewel of Upper Salford. Think about that. Beautiful diamonds in the sky. An asset that we all grew, and I'll show you a picture from my high school yearbook that was part of the ski club back when you were talking about. And we came here because if you're part of the ski club, you got discounted tickets, which was nice, and it was a great Thursday night activity. So every Thursday night.
My wife found a picture of my old girlfriend. I didn't
That's what you go black. And by the way, just a little side note. When did you and I talk about ice skating?
Oh, years ago.
Like 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now in 2021, we now have ice skating. So it's the jewel of Upper Salford Township, and this is the story of how Upper Salford, the Buckman family, and Montgomery County actually worked together to get something done. And it wasn't easy. It was not easy. Everybody had a little piece. The key is what I call interconnects. Interconnects means that I'm a supervisor in Upper Salford Township, but I was also on the Blue Ribbon. I was also on the Montgomery County Lands Trust. And as you know, those different people, they have interest in your project and they can help you out. Rick was part of the Buckman family, not by choice, but by birth. But back there, entering historic Montgomery County, Mario Mealy, chairman, Richard S. Buckman, vice chairman, James W. Meza, member. Remember, we worked with Montgomery County. He happened to be a commissioner from up our way, grew up in our way, so we can talk to him. We can go, as I tell people, we can go to the back fence of the farm and spit tobacco. I don't spit tobacco, but we can go back there and talk and figure out how to do things with common sense. Slices of the past, the Spring Mountain House. Look at that baby. I don't know if you can see that, but when we found the postcard, my wife said, man, I'd go stay there. It's like, it's Upper Salford, you live here. But they had swimming pools, and they said from up there you can see. Another earlier question was, well, what's the other building on Spring Mountain? And that big castle, stone, black granite place is from the Frailinger saltwater taffy people, had their summer house up here. So,
That was built with the black granite from the mountain.
the black granite, yeah, we didn't really get into that, but they mined black granite here, and they built with that, and it's a beautiful structure. Also on that part is Perkiomen Township. And since Schwanksville, Lower Frederick, Upper Salford kept on pounding on Perkiomen, they bought 8 acres to preserve pretty much most of the mountain where there aren't houses, which is pretty cool. But this is an observatory on top of Spring Mountain. So they said on a clear day you can see Philadelphia. Why would you want to look at Philadelphia? But whatever. Now, when Rick and I talked, and he mentioned this earlier, there's a picture that we lifted that's there. This was just trees. Imagine today cutting down 5,000 trees. You would spend a fortune in engineering. You would spend a fortune in permits and fees, as we know. Kevin over here, our vice chairman of the board of supervisors, the supervisors just built this new beautiful trail in front connecting Rick's 2 parking lots from the park to the Perkiomen, and we spent money granted to us, $400,000 in engineering and environmental permits. And we took some trees down. We didn't take that many. But imagine that. Look at that. Look what they started with. And those boulders are big. They had a big bulldozer. Look at all the wood. Somebody told me that's Johnny Graham. And why? Johnny Graham lived in Upper Salford. If you go past Salford Hill School on the way to Tylersport, on that corner is a house that used to be a mill or saw wood place. But a nice big truck. Unfortunately, it's not a Bulldog or whatever, a Mack truck, right? And this is the beginnings, and these are copies of these pictures over here. You can see the people, you can see the tow ropes on the side, you can see some of the trailers. The A-frame. This is from the top of the mountain looking down at the A-frame, the parking lot. Pretty much looks the same after all these years. Rick, I guess, put the bridge in over here. Did you put the bridge?
I was here.
The bridge was in.
House,
Some people.
nothing out.
But the building out here, the ski house where you rented your skis, the old wooden skis. Anybody know who that is besides Rick? Gunther. Gunther was the face of Spring Mountain. He came over from Austria. Why? 528. This wasn't even a warm-up hill in Austria. But they must have paid him good bucks. They gave him a house across the street.
Actually, it was up in the old lot.
Top of the apartment over there.
He gave me my
And
first ski lesson.
you gave your first ski lesson? Well, Gunther was sort of a face of Spring Mountain and Upper Salford for years and years and years. That's not you.
I don't think so.
The snow coming down, the tow rope, the people in not top hats, but interesting. And I also learned to ski here. Some more of the A-frame with the additions. Old Faithful ski lessons, or the line to get on. The A-frame as it looks now. The A-frame with snow, which really looks good. Here's some tickets that I copied, 1987, 88. Saturday, Sunday, and holidays, the rate for skiing was 15 bucks. Weekdays and evenings, it was 12. And then in 1991, $17 and $14. Rentals, ski school, individual daytime and evening was 8 bucks. Private lessons, I was 28 here, went to 30 bucks. And here you go, that's a picture I told you about. There I am freezing because I went outside for the stupid picture. I forgot my jacket, and there's Ski Club, and that's the old Souderton High School stadium there. 1997, 1998, 1999, the lights weren't on. Okay? The equipment essentially was old. I don't want to use the word decrepit because somebody may have been skiing there during the daytime, but it was scary. It was run down. And what do? You know, you don't save money while you're making money, and this is what happens. What are we going to do? It was closed. The weather was not favorable. Facilities needed TLC, required capital investment for their plant equipment. So you got this asset, but it's run down. Do you want to go at whatever age in life you are, stage in life you are, you're going to go out and borrow a bunch of money and renew it? Are the prices right to do that? Do you have the time and energy to do that? Do you have the motivation to do that? At that time, I don't know how many of you remember, we had development pressure in Upper Salford Township. Potential for development of houses, not ski slopes, on the mountain. We were scared. We were going to be overrun like most of the communities in the east part of the county, Manchester County and Buxton. We were just going to be overrun with houses. Spring Mountain House closed. We purchased that, so on the back side of the mountain we wouldn't have houses, and I talked about that. From that 1993 Blue Ribbon Montgomery County Open Space Group, an alternate group or a complementary group called the Montgomery County Lands Trust was born. Our group was done the services for the county, and then we looked at Chester County, and they had a lands trust there. It's called Natural Lands Trust. Now it's just Natural Lands. And they attracted investment, and they helped raise money to do deals with the state, to do deals with the county. There's always a match. There's always something, skin in the game. So Montgomery County Lands Trust was working to get grants. They could get grants from the state, and you use that money to get more grants, to get more money. So the Blue Ribbon Committee came over and formed this land trust. Requires lawyers, requires funding. Drew Lewis was the co-chair along with Jim Meza, and we worked together, people like Kate Harper and Ellen Bard and Paul Meyer from the Philadelphia Horticulture. What's that down there by Northwest?
Arboretum.
What's that? The Arboretum.
Mars.
Morris Arboretum was on the board, the whole 9 yards. We all had this interest in open space. From the $100 million open space, and there are some of the players. Dulcie Flaherty, who was director of Montgomery County Lands Trust for years. The Montgomery County Commissioners, Mary O'Mealy, Rick Buckman, and Jim Meza. Meza's from Marlboro. Buckman's from around here. Mealy is a good friend of Drew Lewis's. Drew was the co-chair along with Jim Meza, who was a supervisor in Montgomery County. So the county commissioners were open space oriented, and they put their money where their mouth was. Okay? Just to go back here, this $100 million Montgomery County open space, we meet down at the county. It's the way government works sometimes. So we meet down at the county, and luckily Drew, at that time, was the chairman of Union Pacific Corporation. So he had a nice paycheck. So we would meet from 3 to 5, adjourn, go to the Bluebell Inn. For 25 people, we would have dinner together and clarify points of things that we were talking about. So we couldn't wait for the next monthly meeting. And you know what? Everybody attended because they got dinner in the Bluebell. It was great. There's Drew. He was a philanthropist in our neighborhood. His dad was chairman of Hinkles and McCoy. At one point, Drew ran for governor, was not successful, was a political consultant, and then got to be a trustee for the Reading Railroad. Reading and Pennsylvania Railroad were slapped together called Conrail. Drew was appointed trustee along with Richardson Dilworth in Philadelphia, and they had to divide up the assets, and they had to fight with Conrail and also try to sell as much of the real estate that was not part of the railroad. So if you go down to the Reading Terminal Market, the Reading Railroad owned that. Was that required to run the Reading lines? No, that was big money, so that was a project that Reading turned around, or the Reading Company, Eastern Real Estate turned around, and that was under Drew's watch. There was other around that were not essential for the operation of Conrail, so the Reading got those. So he was in transportation.
Secretary of Transportation.
Eventually became Secretary of Transportation. He helped Ronald Reagan win election, was National Republican Committee man, and then was asked which cabinet member he wanted to be, and he said transportation because he knew, believe it or not, he knew that there was a strike with the airline people for a while.
Air traffic.
Right, the air traffic controllers. So, 27 acres up in Upper Suffolk Park, another one of our jewels. Like I said, he gave us the land and said, hey, you guys want $500,000 to make it. Make the park. And I said, let's get a planner, and we planned the park out. And the three of the supervisors talked, and we said, politely, Drew, thank you very much, but you keep your $500,000 because we don't want to sit through meeting after meeting, opening bids to buy 5 and 10 bolts and nuts for the pavilion, or paving contracts, or bulldozers. You're a private citizen. Why don't you take your $500,000, according to this plan, make the park, because then you hire your friends as excavators. You hire your friends as builders, and you're not mad at us. He thought that was a pretty good idea. But knowing Drew, as I knew Drew, since I worked for him in Washington, Department of Transportation, also Union Pacific, he wanted things perfect. So if the contractor came back and said, hey, we need an extra $50,000 to get this done, is that the way you want it? He said, yeah. So $800,000 later was his gift to Upper South County, all tax deductible. Co-chair of the 93, co-chair of Montgomery County Lands Trust, friends of Mario, Rick, and Jim, friends of Upper Salford Township, friends of the owners of Spring Mountain, and I think we found a picture over there. I think he was a minority stockholder in Spring Mountain Winter Sports or whatever, and he was an open space advocate because he put conservation easements on his own lands. Supervisors at the time. Ken Hagee was the chairman, his daughter is here tonight. I was the vice chairman, Rudy Goular was the member. The interconnect, as I say, was Union Pacific. I get to speak to Drew very often, or yelled at by Drew very often. Montgomery County Lands Trust, so I talked to those other people, the Blue Ribbon Committee, an Upper Salford Township Supervisor, and I was a former Executive Director of Save Open Space, then becoming the Montgomery County Lands Trust. Unfortunately, at this time, late 90s, if people remember, we had an 1108 mobile home curative amendment challenge to the township. Some builder wanted to buy acreage and then rent it and lease it by the inch, put mobile homes on it. They're very profitable. But he challenged our zoning. Luckily, in '69, we had zoning. The township and the Upper Salford Citizens Group banded together and we won at the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. That was, I don't remember when we got the Supreme Court decision, but it was probably a 10-year process to get through the courts, to get through the waiting, but we won. The problem didn't go away. Next guy up gets the land. He wants to put 416 townhouses on the same property from CNC Developers in Horsham. I don't use the word townhouses. I use the word row homes. Developer tried to negotiate, but the township didn't want it. So they walked away. And then we have a drum roll. The horrible people, THP. They wanted to put their worldwide headquarters and a golf course. They bought a golf course in Upper Perk and they destroyed it. And they wanted to put a golf course in Upper Salford. And 400 houses. If you look at Upper Salford, in 30 years, we've had 85, 87 brand new houses. In 30 years, the face of Upper Salford hasn't changed much. It's because we're stubborn. THP went bankrupt. They still owe the township $38,000. Fees were never paid. Bankruptcy court had Harlesville National Bank lender sell the 300 acres, and Lou Mascaro bought it for $10,000 an acre, or $3 million. Mascaros do not normally sell land. They only sell land. They only sold one parcel of the 9,000, close to 10,000 acres they sold, and that was for the new Souderton High School, and they paid $112,000 $500 per acre. So they figured they'd take that money, they'd sell those 60 acres, take that money, and go buy other stuff. So they rarely sell land. But that's the mindset. Every time we look around, what's going to happen? Some of us still have that mindset. Why aren't Upper Salford's zoning regulations online? The state doesn't require us to have it online. So when a big builder comes in, he has to come in and talk to the township secretary and buy those. So I see the THP on the side of his truck. Sometimes some of my supervisor buddies think I'm crazy, but sometimes there's a reason for the insanity. We had to add to those development pressures, we had uncertainty about Spring Mountain. One of the key issues with development is public water and public sewer. And once you get a bill every quarter from municipalities, and those requirements up on Shelley Road, Schwanksville Road, would have required public water, public sewer. Public water, sewer, if they would develop this into houses, and it's right across the creek, too close for comfort, but it's not in our township. But we were uncertain what's going to happen here. Beautiful land, beautiful views, out in the country. Would the ski area be restored or demolished? The ski area hadn't operated for years. Equipment on the grounds is really in disrepair. It would take a major capital investment. One-day ski resort. There's no outdoor accommodations, there's no hotel here to bring people to have people stay for days. We have a sentimental connection. Many of us learned how to ski here. We loved it. Okay? Close your ears. If you can ski Spring Mount ice, you can ski anywhere. You ever hear that before?
Absolutely. The new equipment did a much better job than what they had.
Okay. Possible development site for residential lots, new development might force public water and public sewer into the township. A coalition to the rescue. When you talk to people, you can solve problems. Okay? Supervisors, Upper Salford Township knew people. Montgomery County, we knew the people in Montgomery County. We knew the Montgomery County Lands Trust. We had people that I want to preserve. And believe it or not, the 1108 mobile home fight attracted a lot of attention, and we got a lot of attaboys for keeping up the fight. And luckily, the people in Upper Salford really responded. We raffled off 2 cars. We raised $200,000 for legal fees. We had great legal minds and lawyers, if you recall, during that fight, if you came out to some of those hearings. And we had a chairman of a Philadelphia law firm also lived in the township, volunteer his time. So we had great legal minds, great legal people to fight the developers, because the sentiment is the developers have all the money, and they've been through this before, and they're going to do it again. And we said, we don't think so. There was the Upper Salford group, many of you were here, the Krupps, the O'Donnells, you know, just really, Barbara. So we began to talk, work together in cooperation. Interconnects, obviously Drew, me, Jim Meza, Rick Buckman, because those 2 were county commissioners. Township, Drew's the overall. Discussions, county, township, Montgomery County Lands Trust, Buckman family. We were not really sure how far Rick's negotiations got before this. Obviously, he wasn't the owner, so we didn't get it. We didn't, even to this day, till we realized that Manning and Jansen wanted $2.8 million for this rundown property. So we started to think and use our heads. we didn't have any communication between Springmount owners and any of us. So Rick probably took the first sword in there to try to negotiate a deal with them to see if we could buy this. Then Drew Lewis went in, since he's a minority shareholder, and he couldn't get anywhere. He was frustrated. So then, Cindy's dad, Ken Hagen, somehow knew somebody, knocked on a door, came out of there with an agreement. Ken Hagen really saved this mountain. 1.6 million is what they wanted. Not 2.8, 1.6 million. And we got some big players. We got the county, we got the township, which can borrow money for open space and look for grants. And then the Buckmans came to the rescue. Because what a township doesn't want to do is give up commercial property, because it's commercially rated with higher taxes. So if we can get the higher tax from commercial property like Shelley Square, it benefits everybody for a small area. So Ken Hagee, chairman of Upper Safford Township, obtained the agreement for sale. It was a major breakthrough for our coalition, because they worked on that agreement for months, possibly a year. So the three partners got together to look at reality. Where are we going to get $1.6 million? Who gets what? So we whacked it up, and the county got 82 acres for $600,000. The township got 82 acres of open space. So people talk to me and say, what if we have no snow? What if they have a bad year? I don't care, because I do care for Rick and the operation, but I look at that as an open space project. There are not going to be houses there. There's not going to be a cell phone tower there. There's not going to be one of those big windmills there. All by agreement. But we did an open space project. Okay? Which also happens to have a second use, which is the ski slopes. Rick and his Springmount Adventures, Family Partnership 3 or whatever, I don't know, whatever you called it, purchased the 20 acres that were on here, up to the creek and around. So Rick took the commercial, which means the township and the county and the school district still gets their taxes, right? Still pay those. And then the township, following state law, had to bid out the lease for the ski slopes. So we put out a request for bids, and there was only one bidder. That was okay for us because it was the bidder we really wanted. And we worked out a deal with Rick. Before we worked out a deal with Rick, the township went out and got a $500,000 loan because our buddy next door, Mr. Lewis, gave us $100,000 for the township to do this deal, to be interested in this deal. Now, at that time, the entire township budget for snow plowing, for grass cutting, for whatever, was $600,000. So we took a loan out for our whole budget for 15 years. In the meantime, our request for bid was for a 20-year lease. Rick Family Business Corporation won the lease. So we have a 15-year mortgage, we have a 20-year lease on the property. But Rick had to spend a ton of money to fix the equipment, to get this place running. And we said, Rick, how about if we do this? This is an open space project. But make hay when the sun's shining. If you listen to people standing along that fence row and spitting tobacco, that's what they say. So we reached an agreement. Rick doesn't have to pay any lease payments for forever. But when he has a skier, he would pay 8% of that ticket price to the township. So we set 8% off, and then in December, January, February, March, we would collect what he skied. So if we didn't collect enough to pay the loan, the township paid the rest of the loan payments because it's an open space project. In the meantime, when the township supervisors committed the money for this, we said with Rick that from the mountain, from the ski tickets, would go to future open space, because this is an open space project. So if the payments were $10,000 and we got $11,000, $1,000 went into reserve count for open space, or to pay next year if he was short. But miraculously, he wasn't short, and we started to bank money away. And anybody knows that if you can bank money away, you can also get a loan off of that money that's going to come in. So we used that. Anybody know where Norm Oschlager's farm is? Okay. Some people know it as the Miller Farm. If you go to the Southfield Post Office and look at the stone house, that was Norm's house. You go down Berge Road, and on the left is Norm Oschlager's farm. You go up Old Skipback, and on the right is Norm's farm. And you go down Wasner Road and to the left. So that is 43 acres of open space that Upper Southford Township bought for $975,000 from that mountain. Not from your taxes. The skiers, other people's money, paid for that, which was great. So right now, as I tell people, we're in the 22nd year of a 15-year mortgage. Mortgage is gone. Those payments are coming in, and they're buying more open space because that's the way we set open space pays for open space, which is the way we set it up. So the township paid off the 15-year loan in 2015. Revenue goes to purchase more township open space, $975,000. It's a nice piece of property. Guess what? No new homes on that. It was scheduled for homes, but the builder couldn't make it work. So the current board, Kevin, was Rick on the board then? Who was the third? May have been Van Leeuwen. Montgomery County only paid $100,000 for their 82 acres. How'd they do that? Well, as you know, in families in business, if you don't write it down, it never happens. So in our meetings, our friends, anybody here from the county? Our friends from the county volunteered to apply for the grants for the state for this project. Said, you guys don't have to do the paperwork, we'll do the paperwork. So Upper Southford, we're here in Little Upper Southford, and we get at the time a letter, congratulations from Senator Hall, congratulations from Ray Bunt. You were awarded half of $500,000 for the Spring Mount project. Unfortunately, the state treasurer wrote the check to Montgomery County. Montgomery County had, at the time, $113 million budget. They had $40 million left over from the open space program that they didn't spend. We got these letters, we're like, yeah, it cuts our debt down. Well, the county decided, county solicitor decided, checks in our name, cash it, say too bad over South Township. So they got their 82 for $100,000 and 50% or $500,000 came to the state, which when we talked about it in the meetings, they had staff to do the grants. And fortunately, it was Mesa, but I'm not sure, you may have applied for it. The new Board of Commissioners came in, Jim Matthews, Mike Marino, and Ruth Damster. So they came in and they made the decision not to give us our 50% of that, which is irritating. So I tell people about it all the time, wherever I can.
No hard feelings.
Yeah, on my list, THP, $38,000 they owe us. Up Montgomery County owes us $250,000. But who's counting? I am. The Buckman family, they were committed to the lease payments to the township. Lease payments financed mostly through ski ticket sales. Why do I say mostly through ski? Because he has Screen Mountain. And guess what else he has now? Ice skating. So he pays an amusement tax on the ice skating. State amusement taxes. So last year was a nice windfall for the open space fund for Upper Salford Township. He still has a weather risk. He needs snow, but he's doing something about that. Township risk, but if no skiers, no development, but it's still an open space project. Questions? And we've had some discussions, and we're still friends. 2-for-1 tickets. You pay for one ticket, you get 2 tickets, right? How much does the township get of that? Each ticket should be 8% of the value, not the price that they pay.
You don't do that.
You don't do that. At one point, I went to a ski shop. Wanted to buy a jacket. I bought the jacket. I got a free ticket to Spring Mountain.
Marketed. They wouldn't come here.
It was marketing. It was marketing. I need all the help I can get. It was marketing. And does the money get escrowed in taxes? Okay? So say you buy a brand new car for $20,000. Okay? How much do you pay for the car? $20,000, and then to get the tags, you pay the taxes of 6%. Okay, so we kept on arguing for years. You buy a ski ticket, and then when your receipt comes out, there's the 8% to the township. Boom. But from Rick's side of things, he has to be competitive with the other ski areas around. So a ticket price is a ticket price. So that's something we've lived with, but it's fine. It's fine. It's worked out. So here, believe it or not, is from the 1999-2000, my notes of the deal. That's the picture that goes into my mind. Where does the money come from? 600 county, 600 township, 400. But we're going to get money back from the amusement tax to help pay for that. Montgomery County did not want the risk of injury from skiers. He's got a big policy that covers us, but they didn't want any of the risk, so they took the wood, so they get no amusement tax. And they're not entitled to amusement tax. So this has happened. Unfortunately, they didn't share this $500,000 because it's on the paper that $500,000 was supposed to come. Drew Lewis gave us $100,000, and we had to go out and get $600,000. So that was the mindset, and that's how it worked. And we agreed, which was really cool, that we accomplished something like that.
I have to tell you, we budgeted for all the capital improvements.
Yeah.
We budgeted $2 million.
Yeah. Well, which reminds me, we were pretty creative back then.
You extended our lease.
We gave him an incentive when he signed the lease, and we voted on it, that if he spends more than $1 million, he gets an extra 10 years on the lease. 10 years of paying this amusement tax. We like that. Okay? Marianne and I were lucky enough to go on a bucket list trip a couple years ago to Australia and New Zealand. And they have a hill about the size of ours, and they put human beings in these big plastic balls, and they roll them down the hill. Good for
I don't think they have as many lawyers.
And I'm saying good for those crazy people, but each time it's $50. $50, 8% or 10%, $5, I'm for it. So, the coalition success. So I assume that's your brother and sister. It's-
My glasses.
Is that your brother, Jeff?
Yes.
Sister.
My sister, yep.
Ruth Damsker was the county commissioner. Mike Moreno, Jim
That was at least
Matthews.
50 pounds ago.
Yeah. My wife says I still have that suit. So this is a picture from the paper. So it was a success. Right now, the entire mountain, except for where there are current houses, is totally protected. Won't be built upon. You won't see lights or shining lights or LED lights in their front doors or whatever. We retained a historic recreation area because you're not going to just strip down trees and build a ski slope. Funding for future open space projects. Somebody said to me, they said, Potsy, when you die, you'll still be affecting stuff around here. And I said, you're darn right. I said, as long as there are skiers, he's passing it down to his daughter and son, as long as there's skiers, 25 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, money will be going to an open space fund to acquire more open space as we go, which is a cool thing. County protected the #1 county open space conservation site. Spring Mountain, not Wissahickon. Spring Mountain area is the #1 environmental spot in Montgomery County. It's in their studies. So the Park of Perkiomen, we're purchasing a piece of property over here, the Clemens property. We have Upper Southwood Park, which was Drew's. We put this $1.25 million trail in from the park to the Perkiomen. We, current board, working with the county planners, obtained $1.2 million in grants. So the township is in for this beautiful trail for $50,000. I'll do the deal every day. Even if I have to go door to door with Kevin. Can you give us $5,000? Help us. It works. It works. Spring Mountain Adventures are successful. Rick also has an incentive to provide summer activity. That's why I was looking at those plastic balls in Australia. It's actually New Zealand to come down. What else? What did we talk about the other day?
Driving range.
What if you could have a driving range right here? You could hit golf balls into the mountain, pick up the golf balls and sell them again. It's got the space. They got vending machines that all he has to do is somebody has to pick up the golf balls, dump them in there. We can hit golf balls. So, maybe it's $5 a bucket. 50 cents a bucket. Okay, the township wants that. The ice skating is a 10% amusement tax, and we still work together. I mean, we were in the original deal, and we still work together. The Park to Perkiomen, the whole 9 yards. So that's it. I'm going to show you a couple more slides. If you go to the top of the mountain and look out, it looks the same. 85 houses hidden throughout the township. Night skiing, that's the key. And we're the closest to Philadelphia. If you're going on a trip somewhere, you come out here to tune up, get a little lumber, get a little exercise. The toll bridge, he said that was here before he bought it.
There you go.
That's a beautiful sight.
That's it.
And 2 new pictures. So, other than that, there's the ice skating rink and the new trail, which connects the 2 parking lots, are the latest thing. So, thank you very much for your attention. I hope you learned something. If you got any questions, call Kevin or Rick. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. By the way, there are some priceless pictures over here. Some of the lumber that was cut, the bulldozers that moved the boulders, and Rick gave you the history of the stuff. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Our next meeting is October 24th. We're not sure where that's going to be yet. John Smith, who does the Christmas display by the fire company, is going to be talking to us about his Christmas display. So information will be coming out on that, but that's October 24th. Thank you again for coming. John Smith, talking about his Christmas display.
Oh.
That's actually good. I'm sure there was a